Welcome back, guys, to the Theory of Three. My name is Austin, and we are going to be talking about acquaintances and the people you associate yourself with. Now, this can apply to either social circles or work-related, things. And my question to you guys would be, not only what have you seen in those areas when it comes to your engagements with people, but how has that affected your personal life?
Sure. I think, firstly, and I love your question, but firstly I wanted to introduce to a guest that's on the show, James Kientzy. He's waving. I have no idea why our audience can't see him.
But, it took me so long to get ready for this. I'm like, yeah. I'm not even on camera.
We all live in this same little town. We've grown up together, probably 2 minutes away from each other. Never knew each other about 2 years ago. Yeah. Has it been 2 years?
Yeah, just about.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
So. Then he found me in the gym, beat me up a couple times, took my lunch money. But then after a little bit, he kind of was like, "Okay, fine."
Tough love.
Yeah,
tough love. Yeah. Welcome to the world.
Right.
But no, great to have you, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you all for having me.
Yeah. So back to Austin's question, and I want to direct it to you because you're the guest and you can answer it first. What have you found that has influenced you when you're hanging out with certain people that you associate yourself with? What's so important with that?
Right. Well, kind of what we were saying, hanging around people that are going to inspire you, motivate you daily, and whatever you do, whether it's business, personal vendettas, or what have you, surrounding yourself with people and like Austin was saying, having people who one-up you, if you surround yourself with not only like-minded people, but people who are going places, it's going to bring yourself up that much quicker, I believe. And, kind of like when we were kids, your parents would say, if you hang out with the bad crowd, then your morals are going to start to corrupt. Or if you hang around the good kids, then, you're going to start behaving better. And whoever you hang around, you become, basically.
Yeah. No, and I agree with that. I think one of the things that if you watch very successful people, they constantly say, there's something that rubs off on the people they work with. Mm-hmm. The people that work with Gary Vee, work with Grant Cardone, that used to work with Casey Neistat. Like there's an energy that they give off that is very attractive, and it's right. There's an energy of work ethic, and
it's contagious.
Yeah, it is very contagious.
You can see it like pour off on you.
Yeah. And so, having those people in your life that you work with that's going to motivate you to do better, even in meetings. Like we've had those meetings where you walk away from a meeting, you're like, I feel, it's you're motivated, you're inspired to do more, even more than what you want to do. And those are the people you need to hang around, that you need to grasp onto and hang out with more. And it's so invaluable, especially for the mindset. It's dull work what we do, and because 90% of it is emailing, messaging on Facebook, posting stuff, and the other 10% is actually getting out in the field and doing what we love. For the most part, I know James, works, all the time, but
he's lying.
But it's very appealing to the people that are outside. But Instagram is such a great thing, and fake it till you make it. And James is the epitome of that.
Pro.
Yeah. Yes. But I think we all are, and anybody that works in this industry has to be. And so yeah, that's definitely something. I'm
going to be the devil's advocate here, though.
Yeah.
So they say surround yourself with like-minded people and people who one-up you, and you are the sum of the 4 or 5 people that you spend your time with the most.
Sure.
But what if say you have this core group, what if you're the weak link? Like, so if you're supposed to hang out with all these people who are above you, right? Well, what if you're the person who you're looking up to? Now are they hanging out with someone who's below them? So like at what point then so then basically is that your mentor? You kind of have to look at it 2 ways. Do you mentor someone who's below you and try to bring them up, and then or do you be around people who are always above you?
I think equal level people are always attracted to equal level, if that makes sense. I think if I met somebody who was of lower level, quote unquote, I'm not saying that I'm going to meet someone, we wouldn't connect as well as if someone was on my level fighting for the same thing.
Sure.
You know, like I understand what you're coming from, and I'm curious as to if anybody else has an opinion on that. But I don't think that if someone's in a group, let's say there's 6 people in a group, and one of the persons is a weak link, quote unquote. I don't think that person would technically be a weak link if the 6 people were on the same level, right? So if 6 people are on the same level and one of them considers themselves a weak link, then the other 5 subconsciously are helping that person become better and join the same level that they're on.
Yeah.
As long as the mindset of that quote unquote weak link is
to
the
grow
same, is to
and-
grow and is
right.
the same as the person above them,
Right.
I think I don't think it's
That's
a
good.
permanent weak link.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so good. Okay.
I think there's two categories that the person that quote unquote is the weak link that can have. In my expertise, I'm a gaffer, and if someone comes on set that wants to learn G&E, the 2 things that I know that I'm going to sink my knowledge into, or sink my knowledge and just let them walk, is attitude. Everything's about attitude. You know, if they're eager to learn, take what I'm telling them to heart. Even, you know, if it's right or wrong, then that's 2 different things. But if I'm telling them that this is what this gear is and this is what this is, and I never have to tell them again, they're not the weak link. You know what I mean? Like they're learning as they're going, but there's a progression that
'Cause
they're
we're all
they're
there at one
building.
point,
Exactly,
you know?
they're building. You know what I mean? And that's the thing that we've seen. You know, once we hang out with someone so long that they start learning things from us, and you know they used to, you know, we used to learn everything from them. Now they're learning things from us that we're building, that we're growing, we're doing things. And I think it's, you know, all about attitude and willingness. You know, if we're all sitting around the table and talking, you know, and that they're telling us, no, that's not what you should do, or you should do this better, then taking that and putting it into action is going to set you apart from everyone else on that table. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that also applies to the whole concept of something you mentioned earlier about marrying up. I read a book this week that talked about that same phrase, and they said the concept of marrying up is the basic evolutional chain of you improving yourself to where you are worthy to marry them. That's what marrying up. And they said in the pursuit of marrying someone that's better than you, or is at a better social standing, or in any one of those cases, just better than you as a person, and you can admit that to yourself.
Sure.
You're already on the journey to that point. You know, and I also think that the whole weakest link deal, I absolutely love what you brought up. And I think that honestly, it's again, to play the devil's advocate. If you are the weakest link, I would say that it's either because of the fact that you are the newest of the group. So, for example, if there's 6 friends, and all 6 of those friends are, let's say, 13 years old. They've grown up together, 13 rolls around. One of those friends doesn't want to grow up. I mean, not to give too many analogies, but, you know, Stranger Things played that perfectly. I mean, Will's character, he just wanted to sit in his basement and play D&D. You know, he just wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons, and he just wanted to have fun with his friends.
Yep.
And all of his other friends started finding... getting into relationships, started dating, and he felt completely left out. He was the weakest link. And it wasn't because he doesn't have heart or he doesn't have spirit, and it's not because he's not a good friend. He just was starting to fall behind what everyone else is emotionally feeling. So that emotions, those expanding emotions, allowed them to grow in different ways than he ever was.
Yeah.
Or could.
For sure.
So I think in a lot of different ways, if you are the weakest link, it's either because you are choosing to not grow, or you are staying in the same spot, which technically is you going backwards.
Well, in his situation, he was scared of moving forward because of what he was facing, and I think
everyone is that way.
I think
though.
everyone is, and I
Everyone,
think
it's a daily battle.
It can.
For sure.
I think you can become the weakest link if you choose to not grow. I think mentally and just in your mindset, if you choose not to grow further and grow with your group of friends,
Sure.
then you can definitely fall behind.
Absolutely.
Just died.
Just died.
Yeah. But I think that also applies to work. I know that we've experienced in several situations where, I mean, Curtis kind of hinted at this earlier, that people we used to learn from and who used to teach us, mentorship really, we've not only surpassed them, but now they're learning from us. And that can be attributed to either a decision of like choosing not to grow any faster than they were,
Yep.
or just laziness.
Exactly.
Because that's usually what ends up happening.
And
that's why in most cases, like the story, I mean,
Yeah.
every story we've ever written, like heard of, is always like the mentor wants the student or the apprentice to surpass him. That concept is completely different. Because that's where somebody who is older, who has succeeded well, who has like attributes under his belt, wants to give that wisdom to a younger person so that he can succeed and pass him. Right. But what we're speaking of like specifically is between the people that are between like 18 and 40. The people that are growing. Like it's pretty much growing all the way until you hit 40. And they say from 40 to 50 you start experiencing the joys of what you've worked on. Right, you start seeing the benefits of what happened.
The fruits of your labor.
Yeah. And then 50 to 60, you started reaping the other side of it. You start probably start finding, you probably start having grandchildren. You have, you're looking at retirement. You're looking to find a little bit of a calmer life. You start wanting to do things that are, that now that you have money and more time like you didn't have before.
Sure.
You spent, 30 years trading, your time for money. Now you have money and a lot of,
Exactly.
trading for time. So, like that concept is definitely the situation, but the one that we've experienced, and for me specifically, in one instance that I can think of off the top of my head, it's been that situation where that person, just chose not to grow. Yeah. They stopped, and it wasn't because they were choosing intentionally to be the weakest link, but there came a point where I realized, like you said, James, that like, what if I'm the weakest link? Well, that was my realization of them. I realized that they were the weakest link. And it was like it's quite a revealing thing. So I don't know. It's a touchy subject.
Is it weird?
Yes. Oh God, yes. It's weird, especially if you've looked up to them. If you've looked up to somebody and then 3 or 4 years go by and you realize that same individual is no longer like fighting with you. It's not like he went from teaching you to standing side by side and fighting for something.
Exactly.
They've changed to being, they've chosen to do differently or not succeed or not grow.
Yeah.
And it's kind of heart wrenching because it's like that's sad. And that conversation can spill over into any subject, whether it's work or social. It doesn't matter because that turns into what people can be defined as toxic. Right. It is toxic to your growth. It's toxic to your achievements.
They start giving off the negative side of energy. It's like that idea that you start getting depressed about what you do. You start questioning. It's not so much about the questions. It's about questioning, why am I doing this? Is it even worth it? If I've wasted 3 or 4 years of my life. No, if this is what you've been doing, this is what you love, then there's no point for you to stop. Like that's the whole point. Right. But when you start doubting those, you start putting those questions in your mind. When that person starts putting those questions in your mind, you start to lose, and it's a downward spiral from there. I think what's interesting, even about the three of us and people that we hang around with, is that we're the worst critics of ourselves, and I think you can't. Like we've always said that when the balloon gets too full of helium, which is more our ego, it just pop it a little bit, and that's more of like our analogy. And I think the reason why we don't think we're anywhere is that because we don't look at ourselves that we've gone anywhere. We're still growing. We want to still grow. But I think that everybody that's seen us in the past 3 or 4 years think that we've gone extremely far. And that was the thing, if we don't look at the ground and look at the mountain and keep going and look at the peak, then at some point we'll hit the peak and go, whoa, we're actually here, And I think a lot of people look at the ground, look behind them, see where they haven't
look at
they
Joe
haven't
down
gone.
And they compare themselves.
Yeah, they start comparing themselves, and it's a bad problem.
It's dangerous. I mean, and I know Gary Vee speaks on this a lot, and not caring about what your neighbor thinks.
Yeah,
and I think that's very important.
Yeah.
It is. It's absolutely important. I think there's a book I read that was called The Slight Edge, and they talk about success and how. And I'll branch off into 2 different things here. Toxicity in your life, whether it be through people that are at your work or your friend circle. Not only are they eking that negativity and that like sort of, it's a choice they're making. They're making a decision for themselves that's negatively affecting you, whether they know it or not.
Yeah.
But more importantly, what's actually happening on your side is that the more you're around them, the more you're apt to not fight. So it's not like, oh, I'm choosing to be bad or I'm choosing to be good. That's not how it works. They said like, if you're on one side of the street and on the other side of the street you see a fight break out and you see this person getting beat up for no reason, you not doing this nothing is the same thing as almost joining in with them. That concept, even though there is like some pliability in that statement.
It's the idea of if you're not fighting, you're going down.
Yes. In the analogy of the book, it suggested that there are two types of people who look at success. There are the ones that believe that you hop in an air balloon next to a mountain and you go straight up. And as you go up, you see the change of height and you see yourself getting higher and higher and the peak of the mountain going down. Then there's the other type of people that actually succeed, that start at the bottom of the mountain and climb. The mountain is always up. There is no such thing as difference in height. You don't know if you're getting closer or not, but you can just see that the horizon is getting better, but you never get above it. You're still going up
because your expectations for yourself and your friends are always going.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Once you think you hit the peak, then there's always more.
But there's also, I think, it's not getting comfortable ever.
Absolutely.
Because I think once you get comfortable, I think, it's like you said earlier, Curtis, it's all about attitude. And if you start to get comfortable, then that's, I believe that's when the downslide starts to slowly creep in.
Yeah.
It's getting uncomfortable. That's when the biggest changes happen, and just keep going forward.
Mm-hmm. And I think kind of what we're talking about is in the real world is where it doesn't matter in what business or in what type of market you're in, you have wins and losses. And in the beginning of climbing the mountain, you have a lot more losses than you have wins. And the closer you get to the top, the more you see the horizon, the more wins you get. And I think once you reach a certain point in climbing that mountain, your wins and losses equal out. And it's at that point you have a realization that you've actually made it somewhere. You don't have to be at the peak to realize you've actually made it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really hard point, and the hardest point for any, I guess, business owner. I'm not going to use the terminology entrepreneur. It's been so slighted.
It's so oversaturated.
But word. Any business owner is the toughest part is the loss versus win ratio. If you have one win for every 10 losses that you face every day or every week or whatever, that's the toughest part.
Yep.
It's getting to the point where you have 10 losses and 10 wins.
Yeah.
That's where you want to be.
Yeah. I want to pose a question to the group, and I would like James to answer this first. The question is, so what happens when you find that weak link? What happens? And this is from personal experience. Have you ever found
Usually
yourself
I am the
doubting?
weak link.
No.
That's all I can.
Absolutely not say that.
I would say, kind of what we hit on earlier. So say you have your core group and you notice, say someone's the weak link. I think at a certain point, kind of like what Austin was saying, is at one point, you're growing, and at some point, as you continue to grow, it's time to become a mentor, and it's time to pass on that knowledge and share your experiences, your ups and downs, and let someone else grow from that. And I think once you find that person that is a quote unquote weak link, you help them out if you see that their attitude is willing to go, forward, they're coachable, things of that nature. Then invest in them. And I think, everything comes in a full circle because someone probably invested in you to get to where you are.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so forth. And then you invest in them. And then, that might just make your team that much stronger because now your weak link is now coming up and, now your six as a whole is so much stronger.
Yeah, absolutely.
I completely agree with that. I do know that
you should.
I do know that in the spectrum of mentorship, there has been conversations that I've been granted to listen to. And one of the major things about very successful people that they've said about their mentors is that, and they've stressed this time and time again, mentorship as somebody that is looking for it, it is your job to pursue them. They will never pursue you. And if they are, then they're doing it incorrect.
Yep.
Because the mentor is not to pursue the person that is looking for mentorship. If that person, or as you as an individual, are looking for leadership, guidance, wisdom, knowledge, everything that the mentor can give you, it is your responsibility. If you want that those results, you need to pursue him or her and find it.
It's more the analogy of get into their space, into their bubble, into their and feed off
be
of
on
that
their
charisma.
phone, be around them, get around them.
Yep.
That's a big thing, being around the people you want to succeed with. I mean, I can't think of a single person that we've worked with in the past year that we haven't had to chase to work with, you know.
Or that we've said before, you know, hey, we would absolutely figuratively die to work with this person.
Yep.
They're absolutely, what they do is great. What they produce is amazing, and we would love to be a part of it. And then, you know, 9 months later, it's almost like a baby, but 9 months later, here he is. But no, at the end of the day,
some were more.
It emerges, and we get an email introduction to them, or we meet the right person that's going to introduce us to that person.
Yep.
And that's the amazing thing, is to always try to go after the people that you want to be, and you know, that are in your industry, that are doing good work. And I feel like that's one of the biggest things about our website, and even about our work. People come up to all the time, you know, hey, you guys do really good work, and at the end of the day, it's like, I mean, half of me says, yeah, thank you, but the other half of me is like, it's not mine. Like, I can't claim that 90% Brothers 3 Studios. Like, I can't. You know, it's the directors that we work with, which we're very fortunate to work with, very talented ones. They do great work, you know, and that's the whole point. Is like, that's why we work with them.
We just
because
augment their brilliance.
Exactly.
You know?
And we help them. We you know, collaborate with them. We talk to them. We help facilitate that. We help to get the vision out of them. That's the only thing we do. You know, what we put on screen is a collaboration of all of us. And, you know, it wouldn't be there if we were working with, you know, less talented people. It wouldn't be there, you know. And we grow on.
We wouldn't be interested in working with them. You
Exactly.
know, if it was anything less than the caliber that they've set, then it would.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
if you're in the pursuit, what's the phrase? If you're in the pursuit of excellency, you're only going to find excellent people. I think is the phrase.
And I also think kind of what we were talking about when it comes to finding people we want to work with or people you want to hang out with. I think the people you really, really want to hang out with, the most important person will take the longest amount of time in terms of business to reach and to talk to.
Exactly.
But there are the randoms like James where you just run into them.
Yeah.
And you click.
And you click. And it works it's brilliant.
Yeah, I want to pose the question, and like, it's not so much the idea. I want to talk about comparing yourself, and it could morph into more of what James was talking about earlier about getting comfortable. Is this whole idea of Instagram, and I want to delve into that a little bit. The idea that when you get on Instagram and we're searching for these people, that we don't go to the searching saying, "I wish I was that person." It's no, like, we want to be doing things with them. We want to be working with them. We want to help them be better. You know. That idea, I think Instagram is such a great place to meet people and to learn from people, but I also feel like it's a great place to compare yourself to them. You know, I wish I was doing that. I wish I could be doing that. I wish I could be with them. You know what I mean?
Kind of like what we talked about last week in terms of comparing your product with, you know, a movie or trying to compare.
Exactly.
You know, you're taking a look at where you want to be and saying, why am I not there?
There's a fine line, and I feel like there's a good comparison and a bad comparison. The good comparison is saying, why is my content not there, and then how can I get my content to look like that? And the bad comparison is, I wish I was there, you know, doubting myself that I will ever get there. And there's a mindset there. You know, it's like us looking at James.
Dude, there's so much
posting stuff on Instagram. You know, his game. Yeah,
like,
his game is
just
it's
crazy,
on point, man.
Yeah, we go to the
James is like, this is not where this was.
We go to the club, and you know, we're 60 years old. I swear, I'm still going to be learning things from him. You know, he's going to be picking up the chicks walking out the door, and I'm going to be going.
And I'll be 70.
Yeah, and he's going to be 70. I'm like, how is this happening? You know, I'm going to be walking up my crutch, and he's going to be walking around just like, full.
He's going to be full on like Kane Walker style.
Yeah,
He'll be like,
yeah,
I
tennis balls and all. But you know, that being said, like it's one of those things that's a very fine line. Comparing yourself to people that you want to work with, and it's the mindset. You know.
A lot of it has to do with mindset.
Everything has to do with mindset. You know, there have been people who have had like their lives. You know what blows my mind is that there have been people who have succeeded in this life who had absolutely the worst beginning, the worst upbringing, the worst circumstances, and they've succeeded compared to people who are just living mediocre lives, primarily because they just choose not to.
No,
well, it's not
even the mediocrity.
It's like a comfortability of like complaining. Like they just complain. They don't try.
Well,
exactly.
You know?
Again,
it's unreal.
Rough times breed excellence. It breeds the courage and the gumption to leave.
Yeah.
Right? And mediocrity is like you're comfortable. You're not looking for something else. You're like, well, I wish I had more money, or I wish I had more this, or I wish I had a Lamborghini, but you know, I'm not willing to put in extra work. You still want your time off. You still want to, you know, I don't know, whatever.
Exactly. And I think it gets very bad, especially when you start trying to go, I wish I looked like James. You know? I wish I
I wish I
had
dressed like him. I wish
wish
I had his body.
exactly.
God.
Like, you know, and that it gets very, very bad, very quick. You know.
Oh, you guys.
This whole thing's gonna pop up on some like
Oh, right.
yeah,
But you know,
NSFW page.
to kind of go along with that, you know, that's almost like, you know, I started to find myself being very comfortable in Missouri, you know, with the whole acting thing. But then at some point, you just have to realize, you know, there's not enough here. And if I want to grow and go to the next level, I'm going to have to move, you know. And so making that recent move to Georgia, I think, has already just been a blessing tenfold. And,
Absolutely.
you know, like what we were saying, get out of your comfort zone.
Yep.
And that's where the real magic starts to happen. You know.
That's such a good line. That's good. All right. Well, I think that's it for today. Please join us again next time whenever we finally get another upload going. Yeah, we will catch you all next time. Peace.
Bye. Welcome back to Brothers 3 Studios.
No, it's Welcome Back to Theory 3.
I know.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
We all said the same time. No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
It's like beep 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 beep. All my bullshit meters going off. Woo!
Someone doesn't belong.
All right, there we go.